Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of Thaiger International. Here we're going to be discussing all of the happenings in the world that are not directly related to Thailand, but that expats and Thai people alike have opinions on. So today I am joined by my good friend May. Oh my God, remind me how to pronounce your last name, May.
Soy Sangwan.
It's May Soy Sangwan. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm still working on my Thai, and it's coming slowly but surely. But May is half Thai, half Korean, and she will be joining me today to discuss everything from politics, pop culture, to science and sports. So we're going to read a few headlines and discuss them, and join us in the live chat to let us know what you think of the stories as we go through them. So let's get into our first one. All right. This one takes us over to Uganda. Now, people who identify as gay in Uganda risk life in prison after Parliament passed a new bill to crack down on homosexual activities. The bill, which includes the death penalty in certain cases, is one of the toughest pieces of anti-gay legislation in Africa. Now, homosexual acts are already illegal in Uganda, but this bill introduces many new criminal offenses. As well as making merely identifying as gay illegal for the first time, friends, family, and members of the community would have a duty to report individuals in same-sex relationships to the authorities. This bill has received almost universal criticism, with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken saying the bill would undermine fundamental human rights of all Ugandans and could reverse gains in the fight against HIV and AIDS. All right, so, May, the LGBT issues are always, this is a big culture battle that's happening in lots of parts of the world. But I don't think we've ever seen something as extreme as what we're seeing in Uganda right now.
This is very controversial.
Of course. Well, not really that controversial, because the reaction from the world is pretty horrified, I think. So what do you think? Should countries be able to pass these kinds of laws? Or are these sort of violations of fundamental human rights?
Well, there's two sides to this. You see, Uganda is a democratic country, and it got people's votes.
Right, this was passed through a parliament. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but on the other hand, you get this, this is against like basic human rights.
Right. It's about balancing the will of the majority and the rights of the minorities here. And of course, minorities are always struggling and fighting for recognition from the societies that they belong in.
Exactly. But it's still got a lot of backlash from the Western world. You see, it's like Uganda saw what the U.S. is up to and say, nope, we're taking a step back.
Yeah, more conservative culture. But at the same time, right, even the countries that are conservative about LGBT rights don't have punishments this extreme. So, for example, like lovely May is half Thai, half Korean.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that in Korea, gay marriage is not recognized. However, we're also not throwing people in jail for it or sentencing to death for it. So, yeah, the LGBT issues are constantly evolving from country to country. And so let's talk about it here in Thailand then. What do you think? How has the lifestyle and the culture shifted in Thailand since you've observed it?
I would say Thailand, we are very accepting of the LGBTQ plus.
Let's not leave anyone out.
Yeah, plus, and I think we're going in the right direction because at the end of the day, love is love, and we shouldn't stop anyone because it's not harming anyone. You see, love is love. Make war, not make love, not war.
That's what it comes down to with a lot of these social issues is really who is the victim of this, right? Like why do we need to put this person in jail for their sexual preference? Because I'm assuming they're not running around assaulting people everywhere. They just want to feel comfortable in their own skin. So, it's not just LGBT issues, it's drug issues. Like the war on drugs is another area where there might be some victimless crimes outside of the person abusing themselves. Sex work, right? Prostitution and other sex work. Even that is being discussed to liberalize here in Thailand. So things like LGBT rights and sex work and of course, drugs in the form of cannabis being legalized here. Thailand seems to be on the more progressive end of a lot of these social issues.
That's right.
Yeah. You lived in Thailand your whole life?
Yes, but the past 2 years I was living in Germany.
Oh, in Germany. Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Ein bisschen.
I've exhausted my German. Sorry. But yeah, cool. So this is exactly the kind of guests that I'm trying to bring on. People who have a strong, deep connection to Thailand.
That's me.
And yet a connection to the world as well, like so many of us expats in Thailand do.
What is your stance on this?
Well, I definitely don't share Uganda's passion for executing gay people. That's for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the world reacts, because the United States is also threatened to for some economic backlash if Uganda decides to follow through with this. So this is Biden's administration, the more progressive political party in America, threatening economic action if they follow through with this law. So we'll see what Uganda decides to do. Money talks, right? And I think that can affect their policy making.
That's right.
All right, cool. Well, anyways, one down. Let's take a look at the next story here, which takes us over to France. All right, so France has experienced another week of massive protests in the wake of President Macron's overriding of Parliament in order to pass pension reform, which would raise the retirement age from 62 to 65. Despite recently being re-elected, this unrest has severely harmed Macron's political capital and will probably make the next 4 years of his tenure much more challenging. So, all right, yeah. Have you seen the pictures and images coming out of France?
I've seen black bags and rats all over the streets.
Yeah, so yeah, that was an image I saw this morning. Was the Parisian garbage men are refusing to pick up the trash.
Yeah.
So it's been about 18 days now? 18 days of garbage piling up in the streets of Paris. But it's for a cause.
It is for a cause, and it's the opposite of what we just talked about Uganda, because in France, it's people are having an opposition against this. Right.
Yeah. So this was something that was sort of forced through, not democratically, because Macron overrode the parliament's directives and pushed through this policy, which is why the French are out in droves, making their opinions heard. Nobody protests quite like the French protest, I have to say, and we can see it on full display here. I mean, think about Paris, right? What do you think about when you think about Paris?
I think of Paris as this romantic city with lots of light, lots of love, lots of croissants, and the picture here does not depict that. Yeah,
it's a little, some ratatouille maybe, no, but yeah. Paris has got to be pretty gross right now, but that's the point, right? They're trying to, like, this is their way of sort of forcing the issue to be addressed publicly. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's any end in sight to the protests until Macron addresses this issue. Now, let's talk about the issue itself. So the French retirement age is 62, and this is when they start getting their pension from the government, where they can just live out the rest of their lives. We are living longer, right? People are living longer. So those pensions cost more now. You used to pay these pensions out for a few years, then grandma would die, and we can save some money. But with modern medicine and technology advancing so much, well, it's not like we can just go kill grandma and save on her end-of-life care. So I get the logic behind wanting to raise the retirement age. The other side of it is wealth, right? So wealth inequality is a big issue in many countries. Do you know how it turns out in Thailand?
Thailand actually has the biggest inequality rate in the world.
No way.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big problem in tons of countries.
Yeah.
Right. It's all over the West. It's all over Asia, and so much of this wealth seems to be getting concentrated in a very small amount of hands. The billionaires, like in America, about 1% of the population controls about 40% of the wealth. So yeah, we're not It's about our resources and where we can.
Tax the rich people.
Well, she said it, not me. But that's the decision, right?
Yeah.
Do we raise retirement ages? Do we cut pension funds? Or do we find money to pay for these things? Macron is trying
Businessman. He's a businessman.
He's going on the cost-cutting side of things, not on the revenue side of things. So, yeah, we'll keep you posted on what's going on in France. For now, I would avoid any trips to Paris until they get the garbage going again. All right, so that'll do us for politics today. We're going to move on to a new subject and hit science and tech. So a quick word about some AI. All right. So Google is slowly releasing its chatbot, Bard, to the public as a competitor to the already popular ChatGPT from OpenAI and BingGPT from Microsoft. Now, one of Bard's early statements during this round of beta testing called Google a monopoly and asked the government to break it up. This is not exactly a great PR move by Google, is it? So it seems like they've released this in a sort of beta testing way, where ChatGPT, when it was released, was kind of like a finished product.
Yeah.
This is hilarious. Google being accused of being a monopoly by its own AI. Now, have you used any of these AI chatbots yet?
I'd be lying if I say I have not. I would say that it's here to stay. It's here to help us and make our lives much easier.
Yeah, how do you use it?
I use it to give me ideas when I'm feeling blank, and it does a pretty good job, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so when I first started doing it, I didn't know what to ask it. I started asking it, all right, ChatGPT, tell me a scary story. And then, like, boom, just gave me like a nice little spooky story, kept me up that night. It's very impressive, right? It's one of these Brave New World things where the ethics of its use, the applications, how it's going to change the job market, whatever, all of that stuff is still very much up in the air.
Would you say it's a little slow, though?
I don't know. I mean, to me, I feel like I'm living in science fiction all the time anyway. So ever since I got this freaking watch, right? Like, I'm like, whoa, ooh, Star Trek, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, sorry, I'm looking at Noom. But yeah, the technology is shifting so fast, and it's just changing the way we live our lives. I mean, come on. Social media wasn't a thing 15 years ago, and now there's millions and millions of jobs, and people just making it. Look at us here, YouTube. Huh. So, yeah, I don't know. I try to keep up.
Besides Bard, there's also ChatSonic, Bard, like you said, and UChat.
So that's
the list is long.
Right. That's a funny thing, right? Because the Bard called Google a monopoly.
Yeah.
But actually here in this field, it's not. Right? There's actually a lot of competition in this field of AI chatbots that's going on. So, yeah, I don't know. I've heard that Bard is a little more rudimentary, a little more commercial, but Google's probably the biggest boy, so I imagine that
They're killing it.
They'll make something interesting happen. So, yeah, we'll see about that. I don't know. I'm worried. I'm just worried about deepfakes eventually just replacing me, and then I'm out of a job. That's an even scarier topic.
I'm scared for my job as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, all of our writers here at the Thaiger, we'll just throw the information in ChatGPT, save some money. Just kidding. Good God. All right. So anyways, that'll do us for science and tech today. Let's check in with Scott D really quickly, who says that the World News Report has just featured a news story about the AI and how much of a game changer it is. So, yeah, I guess you're on the same page with us, Scott. Now, what the game is going to look like, I don't know, but it's definitely going to be shifting. All right, cool. Thanks for that, Scott. All right, so on to the world of sports. All right, we got a couple of fun stories for you. And the first one is about baseball. Ooh, hold on. Yeah, we'll get to it in a second. But yeah, this week, baseball's back in the headlines as the World Baseball Classic, or WBC, wrapped up earlier this week after a 7-year hiatus. Now, the tournament usually takes place every 4 years, so the extended layoff contributed to international hype. Also contributing to the hype was the fact that the U.S. lineup actually attracted several stars, including Ken Griffey Jr. as a coach and Mike Trout as his heavy hitter. Despite the impressive lineup, the U.S. failed to best Japan in the championship, who walked away with their third WBC title. Overall, 20 countries participated in the tournament, which was hosted in Japan, Taiwan, and the United States, with more than 1.3 million attendees overall. So, what do you know about baseball?
I have played baseball.
No way,
school,
really?
Yep.
Yeah, half Korean. There's going to be some influence in there.
It's actually deeply rooted in our culture as well.
Yeah.
And congratulations, Japan. I know it's huge major news.
Yeah. Did you see how they won?
Yes,
game?
by Trout versus Ohtani.
Correct.
That is amazing.
Oh my God, she did her research before coming on today. Yeah, it was just 3 up, 3 down, right? Just whiffs too. Like Mike went for it.
Yeah.
And that ball just fell right off the plate. It was perfection. It was like a movie. So if you guys haven't seen the moment of the ending of that game, because they're on the same team.
Yeah.
By the way, that pitcher and that batter, they're on the same team professionally. But here they returned to their national loyalties, and Japan came out on top. So I think this surprised a lot of people because, you know, it's America's sport. And also, big names came. Right? Like Mike Trout is like one of the biggest names in baseball right now, and he showed up. So the fact that not only did America bring its A game and then lost to Japan is pretty significant. Yeah. So, have you ever been to any baseball games in Korea?
Not really. It's maybe football, but not baseball.
Yeah, it's a little more calm and relaxed, the baseball environment, compared to football, where you have to be watching the whole time. So baseball gets a little more time to relax.
But Japanese team, they're very talented, very exquisite in what they do.
Yeah, that samurai mentality, man.
Right.
It applies everywhere. Now, Clive Walker says he has been to a baseball game in Seoul once. It was great. Beer was cheap. Cups of squid, and the cute cheerleaders probably didn't hurt the situation. Now, you got me with the beer. You lost me with the cup of squid. But to each their own, my friend. Yeah, I'm dying to go to a baseball game, either in Japan or in Seoul. It's a unique and different kind of culture.
What about in the U.S.?
So, man, I've been to a bunch of games in the U.S. for baseball. I always felt like I was bad luck for my team. It seemed like every time I showed up to a game, my team would lose.
Were you defense or pitcher?
Oh, no. I mean, when I showed up to watch my professional team to play. No, I played first base growing up. That was me. Wasn't particularly athletic, but yeah, whatever. I had fun. All right, cool. So that's it for baseball today. Now let's move on to another sport, the UFC. Now, anyone who knows me knows I can't have an inaugural sports segment without talking about the UFC. Last weekend, British champion Leon Edwards took on Nigerian former champion Kamaru Usman in the thrilling conclusion of their trilogy of fights. The two were 1-1 after their last meeting, where Edwards pulled victory from the jaws of defeat with a head kick KO in the waning moments of the very last round, after having been smothered by Usman for more than 20 minutes. This time, Edwards managed to find his footing and simply outclass Usman for the full 25 minutes in front of a rowdy and uproarious hometown London crowd. Now, coming this weekend, we'll see Holly Holm back in action, and 2 weeks from now at UFC 287, we'll see some barn burners featuring big names including Kiwi superstar Israel Adesanya and 305's own Jorge Masvidal. So, combat sports are a big thing in Thailand. And UFC is probably the fastest growing sport in the world in terms of audience and market share. So, do you ever tune in to this stuff?
Not really. However, I do play the game on PlayStation 5, and the only two players.
UFC 4?
Yeah, the only two players I choose are Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor.
Oh, so you just set that classic matchup the whole time? Yeah, for those who don't know, Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor that was like peak MMA a few years ago. And they had a classic couple of fights against each other. Waiting for that trilogy. actually.
So am I.
Yeah, well, I doubt it will happen. We'll see. But yeah, it was very interesting to see this guy, Kamaru Usman, who was the Nigerian champion. He had dominated this division. It's welterweight, 170 pounds, for a long time until this guy came up and again, Usman, the Nigerian guy, was just crushing him. 30 seconds left. This British fella pulls out a head kick that is just beautiful.
Brutal blow.
Right. I always like to compare it. Do you read Harry Potter?
Watch the movies.
All right, count it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do you know Quidditch, the sport?
Of course.
And you know how Harry Potter has to go and find the snitch?
Little golden snitch.
Exactly. In MMA, that's the KO or the submission. Like, you can be winning the whole game until Harry finds that snitch.
Yeah.
And it's game over. So it's a fun sport. It's growing a lot. And we have a ton of UFC champions and top-level guys that train here, mostly out of Phuket. So, yeah, keep an eye out, guys. Combat sports are huge here, and there's plenty of events for you to check out. Cool. All right. Sorry, guys. Oh, I guess the sports coverage wasn't so popular in there. All right. Well, we'll tweak things. All right. It's our first attempt at this show. Cut us some slack. All right. That's it from sports now. Now, the biggest chunk of our show, I'm going to try to focus more on pop culture and little interesting news stories that are playing around in Hollywood and other, areas of influence. So let's go ahead and get started on our first story, which is a bit of... we'll get into it. All right, so Abby Choi. She was a 28-year-old influencer known for her trend-setting fashion. She's been featured in several magazines, including Elle, Harper's Bazaar, and Vogue. Now, you may have noticed I've been referring to her in the past tense. And that is because the rising star, mother of four, was recently discovered murdered in a particularly gruesome fashion. 7 people have been arrested in connection to the murder, including her ex-husband and ex-father-in-law, who is believed to be the mastermind of the plot. The motive appears to be a dispute over the ownership of a property in Hong Kong's Kadoorie Hill districts, one of the most expensive areas for real estate in the world. For the faint of heart, cover your ears, because the most disturbing part of this story is how she was discovered. Her body had been butchered, with pieces discovered inside a refrigerator, and brace yourself, it was also cooking in a stew. Okay.
This
Good
stew?
God. Yes.
I've read that this stew consisted of carrots and green radish.
And person.
And a human skull.
Right, yeah. Clive says he's in Hong Kong. The story's been huge there. This is a huge story for the entire Cantonese diaspora, which is over like 100 million people around the world. So it's news all over the place right now. So, what happened?
What happened? Abby Choi, she was too generous for her own good. She was heavily taken advantage of.
Yeah, so I actually watched a little bit of a documentary on this last night, and what she means by this is that house, right, it's her ex-husband, right?
Yeah.
Abby Choi, by the way, she is also super rich. Now, she divorced this guy, but she still treated that family like they were family and bought this house for them, a $9 million house, by the way. Very, this is not just some rundown house. She bought him a really nice house.
In an upscale neighborhood.
Super it's $9 million. What more do you need to say? But she put it in the name of the father-in-law for tax purposes. And when she wanted to go sell that house, and by the way, she was like, guys, I need to sell this. I'm going to buy you another house. They refused to move. And instead of arguing with her or fighting it out in a legal battle, the whole ex-family created this plot to kidnap, murder, and then apparently cook. We're still not sure if anything was consumed. This is horrifying, but this one's just weird to me because, all right, first of all, I get the motive, right?
Right.
All right, big, lots of money involved, ex-family, whatever. What I don't get is the execution of the plan and then getting rid of the, evidence, something like that. So, this is really captured the imaginations of a lot of Hong Kongers and, you know, us foreigners alike. What will be the effect, do you think?
I'm not sure. However, I do feel very sorry for Abby's current husband. Now he's left with 2 of their kids and 2 from Abby's previous marriage. And I've read that he chose to adopt all 4 so they can be raised together. So huge respect for him.
Yeah, I don't think I would let the 2 kids of the ex-husband stay with that ex-husband, who is assumed to be the killer in this, like the actual one who pulled the trigger or smashed the hammer, apparently. So, yeah, this is a very extreme case. Like, again, the motives, everything, you know, it's just typical celebrity tragedy. This is super tragedy. But it gets so weird at that point.
I just feel so awful for her children because imagine being told that your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your uncle murdered your mother.
Yeah, it's a big, big traumatizing event for so many people involved. And for what? Right? It's so senseless and so just meaningless. And now all of these people, the punishment, by the way, there is no death penalty in Hong Kong. So the maximum punishment for most of these people will be life in prison. It's unclear. 7 people arrested. That includes the ex-husband and the ex-father-in-law, who will probably be facing the maximum punishment. But also some other people that helped try to... so the ex-husband tried to escape. He had a big go bag with a bunch of money. They caught him.
Do you know who was helping him, though? The father's mistress.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, that was who she was. I saw
Yep.
the name. I didn't know the relationship.
Yeah.
Boy, this guy is a piece of work, this father-in-law. And he is the one who supposedly masterminded it all. Now, what was his job? Do you remember?
The father?
Yeah.
I'm
Like
not
testing her
sure.
now. It's funny. You don't remember?
I'm not sure. However, I do know that the uncle was Abby's Choi's chauffeur.
The ex-husband's brother
Yeah.
was, so yes, the uncle of the kids. The ex-father-in-law was a cop. He was a police officer who had resigned in disgrace after some sexual assault allegations. So this guy was already twisted. They were I heard it described as the movie Parasite.
Yeah.
Speaking of Korean movies. But yeah, like this family, like the brother was a driver even, right? Like it was so parallel. And they were just taking advantage, just mooching off of this very generous girl and then punishing her for it.
Very heinous.
Yeah, shocking stuff. So anyways, I thought I'd start the pop culture with the dark stuff and then move on to the more fun stuff. So let's get into the next one. Oh, that's not fun, sorry. Justin Roiland. The domestic charges against Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland have apparently been dropped. And the voice behind the mad scientist and his sympathetic sidekick has taken to social media to lash back at his canceling. After the charges were brought forth earlier this year, a number of women came forward with texts and date receipts accusing Roiland of grooming when they were underage. Now, co-creator of the iconic show, Dan Harmon, has severed ties with Roiland and plans to continue the show without him, although it's unclear who will be replacing him as the voice of the show's of most of the show's characters. So do you watch Rick and Morty?
I do, and you know what name came to mind when I read this news? Johnny Depp.
Oh, so, well, Johnny Depp was exonerated, right?
Yep.
So what are the similarities here?
Similarities? Okay, first thing first, you're supposed to be guilty until proven innocent.
Sure.
However, no, sorry, innocent until proven guilty. However,
Flip that,
this is the other way around, and yeah, it got a lot of public.
Yeah, well, you know, this is one of those things where it's court of public opinion,
Yeah.
right? Like, and the charges were dropped. He did not do any domestic violence, but when this accusation came out, tons of girls came out with all the DMs and messages. Hey, I was 15. He knew I was 15. He was sexually texting me when I was 15. So he was not charged with the criminal charges, but that news brought out the people from the woodworks with all of these allegations and accusations. So he's not going to be punished in any sort of criminal way. But what do you think? Can he recover from this cancellation?
Ooh, it's gonna take a while because people already have an opinion, and it's gonna take some time.
I would argue I don't think it's going to happen at all.
Really?
I
How
don't
come?
think so. Well, Rick and Morty has already talked about they're moving on without him, right? And that's really his claim to fame. So
Right.
if he's not associated with that anymore, what else has he really got going on? More than that, too, I mean, we've seen people canceled for way less. Now, nothing has been proven in court, but, you know, we just prove stuff in court with, like, Weinstein and stuff. We've canceled many, many, many people for all
Right.
sorts of different reasons. This seems like it's well within the wheelhouse of appropriate cancellation. So, yeah, what do you guys think? I see Slug to the Chest says they should charge women who lie about such things to severe punishment. Right, like false sexual assault accusations are a big issue for the person accused. Now, at the same time, Slug to the Chest, like I do agree with you there when people are lying about it. But there's a difference between what you're lying about and what you can prove in court. And then just the fact that so many other women came out with the receipts and the messages, and he can't deny them. He doesn't deny them. It's creepy enough, I think, to warrant the reaction. Sorry, Justin. Love Rick and Morty, but you got to spend some time in the doghouse.
To me, it just seemed like an opportunity to get him out of Rick and Morty.
But he's intrinsic to it, right? He is Rick and Morty. He's both of them and many other shows. So I know that they would have tried to do anything to bury this and keep it alive.
I mean, then when the moment the news came out, he was dropped.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Well, people aren't messing around with this Me Too stuff anymore. Yep. And then Clive Walker just chimed in. If he was grooming them when they were kids, he should sulk in shame for the rest of his life.
I'm with you on that.
Yes, Clive, and that does appear to be the case. So, terrible stuff. Seems like it was all just on the internet, though, all DMs and stuff, but still worth the public shaming. Cool. Yeah, anyways, and Rick and Morty's so iconic. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward without it. All right, let's get into our last story today. And now this one is fun, I swear. A little weird, too. All right, so Hasbullah. He is a 20-year-old internet celebrity with a particular form of dwarfism that gives him the stature and voice of a small boy. He's known for his connection to UFC champion Khabib Nurmagomedov and has been given the nickname Mini Khabib. So it only makes sense that he would join Mike Tyson on his podcast. Things got a little awkward, however, when a bit of boxing horseplay turned into Tyson lifting up Hasbullah and giving him a questionable embrace. Let's have a look. Hold on, can you see this over here? Look at him. Just give him a little nuzzle. Like,
Nibbling his ear.
Yes. So everyone is kind of saying Mike Tyson did not realize that that was a 20-year-old man and instead thought this was a 4-year-old child that was pretending to box him.
What do you think?
I think Mike Tyson was actually confused. I don't know. I think if Mike Tyson knew that this guy was a man who is 20 years old, I don't think he would have picked him up, lifted his ear, and gave him a little right on the... I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Tyson did that knowing he was a 20-year-old man?
I think he did it like
Yeah.
he was being friendly to a... He acted like a 20-year-old... No, sorry. He treated Hasbullah like a 3-year-old, even though he's 20 years old, right? But I think that when you see someone who's smaller than you in person, like your parental instincts, it comes out.
Oh my God! See, yeah, but the point is they shouldn't, right? Like this is what I mean.
Yeah.
I really think Mike Tyson did not understand that what was in front of him was a 20-year-old man. So I'm giving him the benefit of that doubt. What do you guys think? Do you think Tyson was knowingly lifting up this poor guy? Yeah. Clive says Mike Tyson's always in the news for something weird.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's kind of like, I mean, even this story is like weird but also cute. Like at the same time.
It's a great comic relief.
Yeah, like it's just a funny, weird little moment that is born of Mike Tyson's sweetness. I think, right? He was trying to be sweet to a little kid.
And
but
he's
also,
not swearing for once.
Yeah, well, Mike Tyson. Sorry, I can't do my Mike Tyson impression. Sorry, guys. But yeah, and Hasbulla, the influencer that was lifting, he also kind of leans into that littleness. Like he leans into his young presentation, and he uses that as kind of his brand of humor. So, is it understandable that Mike Tyson did this? I don't know. Yeah.
There's a clip similar to this with Hasbulla and Shaq.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the punch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then he did the thumbs up, like,
Right.
don't do anything to me.
Shaq didn't nuzzle him though on the ear, so I think that brings a little bit of difference. And yeah, dude, you see the UFC fighters, all these Dagestani Russian guys with the chin beards. They're always like just like holding him and carrying him like he's a little child. So, yeah, it's a funny little story. And yeah, hold on, who do we got here? Yeah, Selected Chess says, if Hasbulla is cool with it, I'm cool with it. I'm sure he was cool with it. I just think it's funny. Zoe, hey Zoe, he says, did he think it was just a mini Holyfield? Yeah, he went to go nibble on the ear, Zoe. I saw that. Yeah, so do you know Evander Holyfield? Mike Tyson famously bit off his ear in a fight. Pretty funny. Good one, Zoe. So, yeah, just silly. So, that's it for us then, guys. Yeah, that's we're gonna try to aim for a little more pop culture. Let us know what you think. This is our first attempt at this show. We're gonna be trying to do this weekly, once a week, to just wrap up what's going on internationally, send you off into the weekend with something to talk about. So, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, May.
Thank you for having me here. I feel very honored.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for helping me out today. Thank you for joining us too. We'll see you next week on Thaiger International. Bye, guys.